All right, it's another day. It's another breaker saying something really, really stupid. Um, I I've been grappling with this type of idea for a while now, and I think today it may have come to a head, which is I don't think this hobby is for kids anymore. And I think that because it's just the day and age we live in, it's not just like the sports cards and the hobby. It's really like the world, the social media, the advanced technologies. For those who are not aware of what I'm trying to say, so last night, so this is today's Thursday, so Wednesday night, I guess. There was a whatnot stream by Backyard Breaks, which is arguably the biggest. Who knows, right? With the Blez and Backyard, Filth Bomb, I don't know, all We the Hobby, all these places, and their main breaker, who's like I guess the nephew of the guy who owns the company, or who knows how all of that nepotism works, but Grant Telford is his name, and the other guy I have no clue. I don't even know his name, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't think he's like one of the bigger breakers at all. But they are talking about kids and piercings and breast sizes. I'm not going to run the video on the side here. I'm not going to say any more, but it was disgusting. And I know that this is like, I guess, yet another reaction video. And I don't want to take my content down this way, but if I am going to try to be more real and just show you how I feel when it comes to the hobby, not saying anything would be sweeping it under the rug. I know the hobby positivity crew is going to say, well, you're being negative again. And it's like, no, this is real life. This is like, here's the thing. Like, if you want to pull the wool over your eyes and, plug your fingers in your ears and say la la la, and you don't want to see anything and you just want to see the sunshine and rainbows, go ahead and do that. Like, but are tired. People are sick and tired of this. Like, I came back into this hobby like in a happy way, and like I did kind of like in a way, not a poo poo, or like, it was more like it didn't bother me as much just because I didn't know the lay of the land. I didn't know the landscape. And now that I see it, I just get more like disgusted by this very big part of our hobby, which is breaking. And I just, with breaking being like live streaming, I know definitely parents have to be in control of what their kids consume, right? I mean, we all agree on that. But what's supposed to be what initially started off as the wholesome hobby, and like, it's just about the sports and all that, like now it's turned into, you know, these people who represent the hobby, right? I'm not saying that Backyard Breaks or Grant Telford is the face of the hobby and all that nonsense, but as a very big breaker on the biggest streaming platform, they do have a huge platform. And with that platform comes a lot of responsibility. And I don't know if these people understand that, but when people watch their streams, again, I'm not saying you got to keep it completely kosher and like buttoned up and don't curse and don't say anything ridiculous, but th- there's a line. And when you're making jokes, like I know I've been accused of, oh, you're that's not funny, or you're offensive and all that. The times when I've gotten in trouble with that stuff is so minor. It is so insignificant compared to this ridiculous video clip that I've been seeing over and over again on my feed. And again, the people who share that out, they're not negative for doing that. They're being realist, and they're being like, look, this is not your father or grandfather's hobby anymore. It just isn't. And it's a hobby, quite frankly, where I'm wondering, do I really want my kids in here? Because, they don't watch backyard streams. They don't watch streamers and breakers. I collect with them in a very private way. I don't show them on camera and all that. And you won't ever hear me talk about, like they'll never be on my Instagram feed. And I respect everyone with their privacy for that. But it's kind of like this really tragic, sad airplane crash that happened. It happened in real life, right? Actually happened 15 minutes away from where I live, at the at DCA, with the helicopter and the plane. And I'm like, so, like, I think about Breaking Bad, and when that plane, all the debris fell onto people's houses. Like, we are under the flight path of airplanes, right? And so I know it's very selfish for me to like think about myself in that situation, but when tragedy happens, you try to figure out. You're trying to like, you're trying to not absorb, but you're trying to like figure out. You're trying to like grapple with it, and you are. Sorry, this is my dog. She's like very, very. Look, I'll show the dog on camera. Okay, say hi. But for me, it's like I'm trying to process it, and the kids at school may talk to my kids about it, but I'm not gonna bring it up to my kids. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, this happened, like this plane crash and all these people died and it's figure skaters, and like, oh yeah, we know kids who figure skate. Like, no, I don't want to do that to them. And similarly, with all the nonsense that was said in that clip that I saw from Whatnot with backyard breaks, I don't want to like explain to my kids any of that stuff. I don't want them to be watching that stuff. As their parent, I am in control of their consumption, and yes, they won't watch that. But what about those parents who are like, you know what, just go ahead and it's sports cards. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I know better so that they don't watch it. But when they are like always coming up on people's social media feeds, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatnot, and you can just go into the stream, then these kids and their parents, the parents are like, oh yeah, it's sports cards, it's wholesome, there's no problem with it. And then the kids are just watching it, and there's like, there's no, it's like that very waspy thing, right? It's like violent. We're okay with violence in movies, but we're not okay with nudity. We're okay with cursing. So, that's the Anglo-Saxon society we live in America. So when it comes to the hobby, in these streams, people are cursing up a storm. I guess they're not physically, violently beating each other up, which is good, or anything like that. But we know that we're okay with cursing. Are we okay with graphic representation of body parts on kids? Like, I can't even believe I can't even believe those words had to come out of my mouth. Because we're supposed to be talking about sports cards, right? We're supposed to be talking about the hobby. We're supposed to be talking about what pickups that I had or what pickups you had, and like, let's trade, let's buy, sell. What's the next card show? What's the next, what's the next funny piece of content that someone's gonna do online and like, act like a clown. But no, like, these clowns are the ones who are actually they are representative of, they're a big representation of the breaking part of the hobby. Not the hobby as a whole, but breaking. Oh, and actually, you know what? When I think about that whole thing that Backer said, as the face of the industry, if he wanted to say something like, as the face of the breaking side of the industry, like, I don't know who would, I'm sure the fellow breakers would be upset at that, because they're like, no, I'm the face, no, I'm the face, I'm the face. But when it comes to the breaking side of the hobby, which is a big part, but definitely not a majority, and definitely not where all of us, people who like 90s and vintage cards, 90s and 80s are not vintage, maybe 80s, I don't know. But not representative of us, that's for sure. But for breakers like Blez, Backyard, again, these are huge, huge. I don't know what the market share is. That information isn't like fully disclosed and shared, which is also its own separate problems, I think. But I just feel like this is not the hobby for kids, and it's because this society, there's just too much bad in the world. And I guess, what is a kid, right? Anywhere from zero, or not zero, like elementary school, anywhere from like 5 to 17, 18. I guess if you're like a high schooler, if you're like 17 or 18, like, you have definitely, it's a gradient scale, right? And you've seen more in life, and a lot more, actually, it's sad to say, but there's like violence in schools, right? So whether that's physical violence or gun violence and all that, which we haven't figured out as a country, which totally, I don't even want to get into all of that stuff here. But it's just sad. I don't think this is a hobby for kids, for young kids. It's so expensive. It is so divisive. It is so, like, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be quote unquote wholesome. But again, like when you have, and they're not going to get reprimanded. They're not going to get suspended. They're not going to get kicked off the platform. It's going to be business as usual. There's just too much money in it. I think at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's like, I feel like if it was a small breaker who said that, whatnot would be like, oh yeah, we're going to suspend you. We're going to kick you off the platform. But when it's their, their cash cow, they're going to let them on and they're not going to do anything to them. And what does that signal to the rest of the hobby and to kids, right? Oh, you can say that and you can get away with it. Why not? It's like totally fine. Like, hey, it was just a joke, right? Isn't that going to be the biggest offense? It's just a joke. We're just kind of, what we don't like, oh, cancel culture run amok and like, you can't be funny nowadays. I mean, if you are a comedian with a Netflix special, or if you are a comedian at a stand-up bar where they're serving drinks, where you have to be minimum age 21, and all of this stuff, like, yes, you can do the George Carlin seven words. You can do your stand-up skit, but when it comes to, I don't know, I know it's hard to be a content creator. And again, I know this is me criticizing another content creator yet again, although I don't know if streaming is considered content creation, but that was beyond the pale. And I think that maybe it's because they're so young and they don't have kids. Again, like the whole like Jarrett Backer being like, oh, if I had an 11-year-old, these knuckleheads, they don't understand what it's like to be a parent. They just don't. And I wonder if he would ever say that again, or Grant, I wonder if he would ever say that again, or if he would feel bad about saying what he did if or when he does have, say, kids or, say, a 6-year-old daughter. So I'm going to try and keep these shorter, so I'm going to end it here. But, I just had to get these thoughts out because just, wow, just absolutely beyond the pale, like really. So, all right, you guys be well.